at Credit Suite, and I'm going to be filling in for Ty today. Ty is actually going and leading the business loan broker challenge. And so today I'm here to talk to you about how to avoid fraudulent loan applications. And this is a huge issue that a lot of people don't think about. So as I mentioned, I'm the head of marketing here at Credit Suite, and I'm going to move relatively fast today because I actually have to leave here and go over to the Business Loan Broker Challenge to present on advertising and getting started with Facebook and Google Ads. If you don't know what the Business Loan Broker Challenge is, it's a online event that we're running it started yesterday through the end of the week. And it's for people who are interested in helping others become business loan brokers. So if you're interested, if you're an accountant, if you're a credit repair company, if you help business owners right now, if you're a business coach, this event might be for you. So if you're interested in it, go to businessloanbrokerchallenge.com and you can still register for it. You missed yesterday, but there's a whole Facebook group full of thousands of people. We have over 2,500 registered. I believe there's like 1,500 in that Facebook group already. Networking, the recordings from yesterday will be in there through the end of the week. So you still have time to register. Go over to businessloanbrokerchallenge.com and you can get started with that challenge today. It does start in the next couple of minutes here. So I'm here to talk about fraudulent applications, and fraudulent applications come in to play with Fundability Foundation. So I really want to start with Fundability because that's where it really all begins. Whenever we look at financing a business, Fundability Foundation is where you always begin. And it's a lot of times the easiest place to start. And it's really the most important. So Fundability, if you don't know what that is the ability to get financing right now, or your business's ability to get financing right now. And there's also all sorts of different things that play into Fundability overall. The main thing that I'm going to be focusing on today is Fundability Foundation. If you're interested in the others, go to our YouTube channel or to one of our social media channels, or give us a call, and you can search Fundability and see all of the different aspects of Fundability that we talk about and that are important to your business being able to get financing. If you see me look over to the side, I have two monitors here. I'm just going to look at the comments that are coming in. It looks like we've got Daryl. I'm a little late on the loan broker, just hearing about it now. Don't worry about it, Daryl. After this presentation, you can go to businessloanbrokerchallenge.com. You can register for the Loan Broker Challenge, and all of the recordings from yesterday and today will be in that Facebook group through the end of the week. You can also get started with the Backstage Pass. You'll get all of the recordings. So let me look. Daryl Hagen is here with us. Nettie Pearl is here with us. Thanks for sharing it, Nettie. It looks like there's a few other people coming in as we get started here. So Fundability, your business's current ability to get financing. Fundability Foundation is going to include some key aspects that I'm sure you guys have heard us talk about before. This includes things like your business name, your business address, and a lot more that go into showing up credibly to lenders. So at Credit Suite, our mission is to help reduce the number of errors that you make when you're trying to finance your business and speed up the process for financing your business. So Fundability Foundation is going to include things like how you set up your company. Are you a corporation? Are you currently a sole proprietorship? If you're a sole proprietorship and you start to try to build business credit under yourself, basically, that's going to cause issues down the road. So make sure that you understand how you should be setting up your company from the beginning. And it's okay. You can make adjustments as we move along. Some of them might be easier to make than others. Your physical address. Do you have a physical business address? Do you have, are you using your home address? Do you have a virtual address? A virtual address is different from a virtual mailbox. This is where we run into lots of conversations in Facebook groups and online forums and things like that, as we get into arguments sometimes with each other about, does a virtual address, count as a mailbox, or does a mailbox count as a virtual address? And the answer is no. Not all virtual addresses are made the same. So this is really something that you got to pay attention to if you're going to utilize it for your business. It's a great option, by the way. Your phone line. Do you have a dedicated business phone number? And is it different from your cell phone? Are you able to own that phone number? Can that phone number be listed on 411, which I'll go over in a second. So very important. Let's see, we've got a few more people coming in. Adrienne Foster, welcome. And yes, hashtag BLB challenge. So for those of you who are interested in the challenge, be sure to take a look at that. Back to Fundability Foundation. They're also going to be looking at email and website. Legitimate businesses will have all of these things set up. And so it's important that you start setting these things up from the very beginning. And if you don't have them, it's not too late. Go and get them set up and make sure that they're set up the right way. A business looks way more legitimate if you have a website, yourcompany.com or something similar, and an email to match, info@yourcompany.com or your name at yourcompany.com. This is incredibly important, and a lot of people overlook that step. And when they get to the loan applications, the company does not look legitimate. And then probably one of the most important things is a business bank account. Megan yesterday on the challenge gave a whole presentation on fundability. And a big portion of that was around business bank accounts. She shared a story about a client she had in the banking world who was doing an amazing amount of business, but was running his entire business out of his personal checking account. And that is a big no-no. So business bank account is incredibly important. Here is all of the Fundability Foundation factors. So the way that we look at fundability is we have main factors. Those are the things over here on the left. So things like industry. What industry are you in? What is your SIC code? What's your NISCS code? Your business name. Does your business have any kind of special characters, which we'll go over in a minute? And I made this mistake when I was starting my consulting business of using an ampersand and not using it everywhere congruently. And so we'll go over that. Your business address. Is it a physical address? Is it your home address, which is okay. It just needs to be consistent. Is it a PO box, which is a big no-no? And then is it a virtual address, and making sure we're using the right virtual address. Then you've got business phone number. That phone number needs to be congruent everywhere. Business 411 listing. Can your business phone number be listed on the National 411 registry? It's weird because that's a totally outdated piece of technology. But in some cases, when for certain lenders, that's an incredibly important piece to the puzzle. Time in business contributes to your fundability foundation. So obviously, there's different types of financing that are going to require 1 to 2 years in business, and some that require 3 to 5 years in business and more. So keep that in mind as you're looking at the different types of financing that you want to apply for. Business bank account. Like I said, this is just like one of the biggest portions of this. If you're not running your business through a business bank account or a separate from your personal bank account, you need to make sure that that's one of the first things that you go and set up. Now, an important note is all of the stuff above, your name, your address, your phone number, those things need to be congruently used when you set all of the other portions up. So when you set your business bank account up, it should use the same business address, the same phone number, the same business name as you used to file for that business entity with the Secretary of State. The IRS should use that same business name, business address, business phone number as you use to file your Secretary of State and that you use to open your business bank account up. So entity, we just talked about that. EIN number, incredibly important. It's totally free to get from the IRS. There's no excuse not to have your EIN number when you get started. Your website. Is your website aligned with your industry? Is the contact information on your website the same as you're using everywhere else and the same that you're using on applications? Do you list who the business owners are? Something important for small businesses in the financing process is that lender needs to be able to go back and understand who owns that business. And so they'll ask for things like social security number oftentimes for identity purposes, but that lender will go to your website, and if they are able to verify the owner's on the website are the same owners that are listed on the loan application, are the same everywhere else, that does happen. And we do see issues with that occasionally. Email, does the domain on the email address match the domain of the company website? That's a big thing that people make mistakes of. They may have yourcompany@gmail.com. That looks way less legitimate to both your customers and to lenders and credit issuers than your name at yourcompany.com. And then any kind of licenses, business licenses may or may not be necessary depending on where you are in your locality and your industry, but make sure that business licenses, where required, you have the right ones. So this is something that we've been talking about a lot already, is consistency is vital to the success of your financing application. Most applications that are set as fraud oftentimes come from inconsistencies. So we see inconsistencies most in address. You use one address to register with your Secretary of State, and then you end up getting a new address for the business, and you sign up for your EIN with one address and your business bank account for another address. So now you have 2 or 3 addresses in the mix here that are going to cause issues for lenders down the road. Now, look, I made all of these mistakes. When I started my consulting business, I registered the entity with one address that I was using that was also shared with another business. And that alone caused problems. But then when I opened my bank account, I went and got my own business address and opened the bank account with that address, but never went back to the Secretary of State and updated my address to the new address. So it's something that you have to really, really pay attention to when you're setting all of this stuff up, especially if you get new addresses or set your business up with one address like your home, because that's where you're starting off, and then you get a storefront, or then you get an office. You always want to go back and make sure everything is consistently moving forward with you. So when stuff doesn't add up, it looks too scary to lenders, and lenders are going to always err on the side of caution and flag the application for fraud. Remember, all of this stuff is going through a computer before a person sees it, if the person sees it at all. And so what ends up happening is the computer's just going to go, no, this looks like a fake business. It's just going to get denied. So this is where you start to see a lot of denials, and the bank or the lending institution doesn't really have a way for them to give you this coaching and to tell you why you were denied. It could be something as simple as your address here didn't match here, or your address and phone number didn't match together. So it's important to pay attention to that. So I see some questions come in. Daryl, thank you so much for all of your questions. We got Fred says, very true. Rodney, happy to be here. Welcome. Thanks for being here, guys. So Daryl asks, what if you have multiple addresses like corporate office, then a receiving office for operations? Totally fine. Wherever whatever entity you're building business credit under, or that you're trying to get lending for, make sure that that address is congruent. So if you have a corporate office, I would probably say that one makes the most sense to build the business credit under, to use on applications, to have your bank, the address on file with your bank account. And then your receiving office could be your shipping address. It's totally fine to have a real business address and then a shipping address. And you can even use a PO box for your shipping address. But remember, wherever your corporate stuff is, that's the address that you're going to use on applications. That's the address that you're going to use on your website and other things. And you can say on your website, this is our address and this is our shipping address. Totally fine. Yes, Daryl, coaching is incredibly important, and I'll go over that in a moment. So appearing to be fraudulent is enough for the denial. You're a totally legitimate business. You started your entity, it's an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp or something like that. You have a business bank account, you have a phone number, you have a website, and something as simple as address, and you might even have lots of cash flow and business credit, but something as simple as address can deny you, even at your own bank. So I had a story. I was talking to one of our account managers on the phone the other day, And he was sharing this story that he had with a client where an attorney doing $3 million in revenue went to her bank to try to open up a line of credit, and the bank denied her for 2 reasons. She didn't have business credit established or enough business credit established, so they couldn't compare her business's ability to pay back on the credit line that she wanted to open. And 2 is she had mismatches of the address that her bank had that she used on the application with her own bank to open the line of credit. And so once we fixed these issues, she was then able to, there was just 2 issues. She was able to go get the line of credit with her bank. So consistency is so important. And it even comes back to consistency when you're even building business credit. So your name and other information needs to be consistent. And when you sign up for things like your entity or your bank account or anything like that, the same information needs to be used on the application. So you can't use one address with your entity and another address on the application. So business name consistency. This is the mistake I was just talking about. I owned a business called Profit Systems and Solutions, but I used an ampersand in the official name with my Secretary of State. But then I used the word "and" because the bank account that I was opening, the input didn't allow for special characters. So I used the word "and" thought that's the same thing. The answer is it's apparently not the same thing. So it can cause denials for something super simple like this, especially if the rest of your fundability is not that strong. So if you have okay personal credit, you're just starting out, so maybe you don't have a huge amount of cash flow yet and you have no business credit, your fundability foundation, if it's weak and you're doing stuff like this, can cause denial. So something else to keep in mind, consistency is key. It's the easiest thing to mess up, but it's also the easiest thing to keep track of. And throw your questions in here as we're going, guys. Not only does the information need to be consistent, it needs to be verifiable. And so what does that mean? We have been working on a few things with some data sources that look at the data that you're using to apply on an application. And can that lending institution then go back and verify that information is correct? So it's sort of what I was talking about. If you say, hey, these are the business owners on this application, and these are the people who are ultimately responsible for the financing, are those business owners actually the business owners? You can't lie about that information. It's going to show up to the lender and it's going to look really sketchy. So the lender may search for things like Secretary of State to verify ownership. They may also use things like LexisNexis and the other business credit bureaus to verify information. So it's incredibly important that you build this stuff up from the beginning, or if you've already started and made mistakes, let's go and fix that before you start to apply for things. So if they can't verify the business information, it's going to automatically deny. It's the same as if the business information was inconsistent. So keep that in mind. They may also ask for additional things. So if you're going through the application process and they hit a little snag and it's not enough for them to verify, they may ask for tax returns. So if you've given them bank account or bank statements and they feel like they can't verify that information with your bank, they may say, hey, we also need tax returns. So the stronger your fundability items are, your foundation, your business credit, your personal credit, your business financials, your personal financials, and how you apply for the lending, the stronger all of those things are, the better chances you have for approval and the better chances you have in the application process after you're approved for things like, what are your rates going to be? What are your terms going to be? Daryl asks, when you say verifiable, is that where things like LexisNexis come in? It is. So LexisNexis, your Secretary of State, other business credit bureaus, even unknown ones. So like Credit Safe and some of these more nondescript credit bureaus, they are great sources of data for lenders. And so lenders will tap into them simply for their data to plug into their own algorithms so that they have as much data as they possibly can have. What about the LexisNexis if there is wrong info, is what Daryl asked. Let me throw that up on the screen. So great question. You can, I believe, I forget the URL to go to. I'll make sure that it's in the, I think, Alfredo, if you're watching, if you can go find where our links, special links are to check systems and LexisNexis, and post those in the comments for us. LexisNexis does allow you to dispute incorrect information. So you'll have to get your LexisNexis report first, and then review the information just like you would on your own credit reports. And then you're able to dispute that information on LexisNexis or check systems. And we have a whole resource center on how to do that. So be sure to put that in the comments and we'll get that in there. Can you share the same business address if you have two LLCs? Great question, Andre. So that is a kind of a gray area. The answer is yes, but you have to be careful about how you do it. And you also have to be careful about how the post office is classifying your two different addresses. So if you have, if you're using a virtual address, you may be able to add on relatively inexpensively an additional office that works for the other business. Be careful sharing one physical location with multiple businesses without figuring out the way to separate them, because it can cause kind of issues on the reporting side. So you may have, one business information reporting or vice versa. Can you correct or change your SIC code? So SIC code is often determined by like your business name and how you create your entity and that kind of thing. So the answer is yes, but there's a whole process to go into that, and we could probably do a whole nother live stream on that. I believe we have some resources. If you go to youtube.com/credit suite and type in SIC code, you'll probably pull up some information, or go to our blog for that. So even if they originally ask only to verify information, they're going to look at a lot of information. So they may end up going through the application process, and some things look great and other things don't look great. And so that causes them to want to look at other information. So this is going to be, as you're going through the application process, keep in mind that you may end up needing to give them more. So on a tax return, the business doesn't want to show that they make money. You may make more money than you pay. And if it shows a large loss, or your business is showing a loss, and the thing that they're using to determine if they approve your loan or not is a tax return, this may be detrimental to your ability to get approvals. So make sure that you're able to verify in other ways that you have cash flow coming in. And that may be through business bank statements and things like that. Verifying income, both personal and on the business side. Don't lie about your income. They know when you're lying. There's plenty of ways for them to verify how much money you make, and they'll verify everything. So if they can verify it, they will verify it. And it doesn't just go for income. It goes for any information. How much of the business do you own? The date that the business was opened. In certain cases, for most types of financing, they're going to go off of what the Secretary of State says. For other types, if they can't verify it, or if it was a purchased business, they may go off of business bank account information. And so make sure that all of that stuff is queued in. Tesha McDonald says, what about lines of credit? I don't know what you mean by that. So if you can clarify it, I'll make sure I get that answered. Lenders are also going to look at personal information. So, sort of gone are the days that business credit is this end all be all solution to, also being able to get other types of financing. You're going to want to make sure that your personal stuff is in order. What does your personal credit look like? What do your personal financials look like? Just like a mortgage lender is going to go through and look at how you spend your money, there may be certain types of business financing that take a similar approach. Now, there are types of business financing that don't weight personal stuff as high as the business stuff, but you got to figure out, what are you going to get approved for? And is personal information going to be taken into account for that type of financing? So if it is, you're going to want to make sure that your personal stuff is in order before you apply. So don't fudge on personal information just because it's a business loan. They're going to know. And that gets me to like the most favorite thing to watch play out in Facebook groups, which is always the argument about CPN numbers or credit privacy numbers. So can you use them to hide bad credit? The answer is no. And I'm not going to get into an argument with anybody, but there's multiple cases on this that you can go look up on the FBI website, on the FTC website, and the CFPB website that show that they're going to go after you if you're using a CPN number illegally. Now, CPN numbers themselves are not illegal, but when you use a CPN number and you buy a CPN number, that's where you start to get into this legal gray area of misrepresenting your identity. So if you have a legitimate need for a CPN number to protect your identity and to protect your social security number, you can work with an attorney to get one, but it's not a way to hide personal credit issues or personal financial issues from lenders. That's just not going to work. And they'll still be able to verify other information about you. So remember, these are only legal if you have a legitimate reason why you need to protect your personal identity. Bad credit is not, by the way. And most of the country has less than stellar credit, and it's okay if your other fundability factors and pillars are very strong, and you have a legitimate business and a strong business. And there's on Thursday, I'll be actually going over a presentation on some of the lending options and financing options available to you if you have less than great credit. So some claim a CPA offer will offer fresh credit history. If you see that, or if you see somebody selling you a number to use in place of your social security number, say no. It's never going to work out for you. Companies selling these get them often in super sketchy ways. We've seen them come from dead people. We see them as children, social security numbers just being sold as a CPN number. And you're getting into identity theft and things like that. And that's never going to play out well for you. Other names for a CPN that some people are, using instead of credit privacy number are consumer profile number, credit profile number, credit protection number. They're all deceiving. So, some of the people who use CPNs legitimately are celebrities, officials, high-level executives. You may have a legitimate reason. I'm not saying you don't, but go about getting it the right way and recognize that just because you have a CPN does not mean that you're going to hide personal financial issues. So we have a couple questions here, or other things. Daryl says Secretary of State, business bank account, inception date, tax date, the date that the business started paying taxes could all be used. It's true. It depends on the different types of financing. Tesha asked, instead of getting business loan, would a business line of credit be similar? My business name and address has changed, but still comes up in my NAV as my old name and address. Great question. So they're going to have similar. They're going to have very similar applications. They're going to have very similar requirements. It may differ a little bit between who your lender or bank or whoever you're going through is. Fundability is key, right? A term loan, and a line of credit are just two different types of lending vehicles. They're two different types of financing. And both are going to require the same stuff that we're talking about here with consistency and making sure that your fundability foundation is in order before you go and apply, whether it's a term loan or a line of credit. So hopefully that answers your question. Now, the second part of it is, you've changed your business name and address, but it still comes up in NAV as your old one. So you may want to talk to NAV about where they're pulling that information from so that you can identify which bureau you need to go and make sure it gets updated so that you can submit updated information to the bureau. You also want to make sure that if you changed it with the Secretary of State and they honored that change. Sometimes governments move slowly. It's just the nature of it. You want to make sure that it's updated with the IRS and your business bank account in addition to the bureaus. The bureaus to check first are DNB, Experian, and Equifax commercial, and then move on to things like LexisNexis and that kind of stuff. So hopefully that answered your question. Let me know if I did not. Let's see here. So CPNs, you can only get one in your lifetime. If you have a legitimate claim, there are legitimate attorneys that can get you CPNs. But remember, it's not for everybody. You have to have a legitimate reason you get it. And even if you have a legitimate reason to get it, it's not going to hide any kind of credit problems or anything like that. So remember, can't use a legitimate CPN in place of your social security number on an application. You can't buy a gun. You can't file your taxes with it. So what's the bottom line? It's not illegal to get a CPN. You got to get it in the right way, and you can't use that number for anything else. Recap of the whole thing, and then I want to get to some questions and and move forward and talk a little bit about the business loan broker challenge. So most applications are getting rejected for appearing fraudulent. This is like the main reason that I hear our team dealing with. Now, we have a team of advisors who actually helps business owners move through this whole process. So the first thing that you do when you sign up for Credit Suite is we have hundreds of business credit accounts. We've got tons of different brokers and lenders that we work with you to match up to figure out what are your needs, what does your business do, and what brokers specialize in these areas. When people come to us all the time before starting the fundability portion of our software, this is like the main reason we see people getting denials. Golden Child Jr., this is not on a replay. This is live. So if you have questions, throw them in there. So it's really important that you appear legitimate and are legitimate in every area. And the way that you start with that is just take it bite-sized chunks of Fundability Foundation. Now, our software helps you with Fundability Foundation, and our advisors are there to help you avoid mistakes. So you can avoid fraudulent applications by making sure your business and personal information is correct and consistent across everything. Make sure that your name and the names of other owners of the entity are correct and consistent across everything. Also, make sure that it can be verifiable and have multiple ways of verifying information. If you list business owners, or if you list multiple owners of the business with your bank account, but you don't have all of those business owners, or at least information that this business is owned by multiple people elsewhere, it can cause issues with verification. Don't use a CPN for trying to appear legitimate. In fact, it hurts. It will end up hurting you because it looks like you're trying to get around their ability to verify information. And then there's some more information on all of this stuff down in the description. If you're on YouTube, it will be down below this video because we're cross streaming this. If you're on Facebook, it may be above, or if you're in a Facebook group, it may be somewhere in between. Golden Child says, I have my DUNS number, my profile set up. Probably what steps shall I take to start building business credit? Great question. And we're about to go over that. So business credit is another section of Fundability. So today we mostly went over Fundability Foundation. Then you have business credit. You have personal credit. You've got finances, both business and personal, and your what we call the application process. So when do you apply for the loan or the type of financing? What information are you putting on there? Are all of these things verifiable? All of that stuff goes into another portion of Fundability. So if you've got your DUNS number, the next steps, Golden Child, before you start with business credit, are to go through and make sure that all of the information is correct and consistent. Whatever state you're in, go to your Secretary of State and make sure that the information they have on file is correct first. If it's not, correct it. Then you go and get your EIN. Your entity is formed now. Hopefully it's an LLC or a, whatever entity type makes the most sense for you, as long as it's not a sole proprietorship. Then go to the IRS, get your EIN number using the same information as your entity formation with the Secretary of State. You also want to open a business bank account using the same information with the other two. And then make sure that you already have a DUNS number. So make sure that D&B has all of the same accurate information. The best way that I would start building business credit then is to start with starter vendors. Starter vendors are a way to run your business day to day without, leveraging personal credit just to run your business. I always say to save your personal credit for the things that really matters, like your personal expenses, and to grow the business. There may be cases where it makes perfectly good sense to use a personal guarantee for a type of financing that's going to grow your business. So keep that in mind. And then move up to things like, trade vendors and that kind of stuff, or service credit and credit cards. So I want to keep this question up. If you have questions about fundability, you can give us a call at 877-600-2487, and our team will go over a business finance or business fundability assessment on your business. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions about your business, how it's set up, do you have any accounts reporting, all of that stuff, and be able to kind of move forward with you in the next for the next steps. Here's how we help. We get results faster with less effort. So you could go about this all on your own. But in this 30 minutes or 40 minutes that we've been talking so far, I highlighted a bunch of areas where most people get stuck. But if we go back to this portion of the presentation where we went over all of the fundability aspects, this is just foundation. This doesn't even include business credit. This doesn't include personal credit. This doesn't include the financials, business and personal financials. So you could see where you could get stuck at any one of these, and your business loan could get denied for any one of these. And it's not just loans. It's any type of financing, business credit included. Now, some types of financing have stricter criteria than others. So keep that in mind based off of what you can qualify for. So our software that you have access to speeds everything up. It's set up in steps that are self-guided and with advisors in place to help you through them. So you're going to start with Fundability and Fundability Foundation. It's incredibly important to move through Fundability Foundation before you start applying for things. It's also the most comprehensive business credit building system around. We have hundreds of vendors, all that report to business credit bureaus. If you guys have been doing this for any amount of time, you know that it's a struggle to find vendors that report. Most vendors out there, even if they have credit that they extend to you, don't report to the business credit bureaus, and there's no reason for them to be. There's no law in place, like on the personal side, that requires they report. So we have a research team dedicated to going out and finding and re-verifying every 30 days all of the vendors that are in our system. We also have advisors that are there to consult one-on-one with you to avoid all of these mistakes, right? So in addition to the software that's step-by-step and you could go through it yourself, you don't have to. Our advisors are there to call up, during business hours and ask pretty much any question throughout this process. They can help you avoid the mistakes of dealing with the IRS. They can help you avoid mistakes with dealing with most of the state Secretary of States. They can help you avoid mistakes before you apply for a certain vendor or before you apply for auto financing without a personal guarantee. Before you apply for a loan, our advisor team is there to kind of walk you through all of these things and even guide you through most of them. And then our finance team works directly with your advisors so that as your advisors develop plans with you and you go to get certain types of other financing and lending products, the finance team is there to make sure they're matching you up with the right broker and the right lender that's within our network. Golden Child also asked, do you have an affiliate program? Yes, we do. They'll put that link to sign up for the affiliate program in the chat. Also, if you're interested in becoming a business loan broker, so helping businesses do all of this, as well as get approved for lending products and build business credit, we have a challenge that's coming up, that's going on this week. Can we get total business credit without ever using a personal guarantee? The answer is yes. Business credit is super easy, relatively, to get without a personal guarantee. And it makes sense to. Most of the time, you want to run your business without having to bring in your personal finances. The moment you start personally guaranteeing things, you're going to have problems in your business when you need to leverage your personal credit, because if stuff reports back to your personal credit, you're raising your utilization on your personal side, and that makes your credit score drop and all sorts of other things. So use the no PG stuff to run your business day to day. Have it report to the business credit bureaus. Now, when you need some cash and money to grow your business and to make an investment in your business, you can leverage your personal guarantee for more money and for better approvals, and also leverage the business credit that's now built and is reporting. So the answer to roll in, yes, business credit without ever using a PG is possible. And like I said, we have hundreds of vendors within our software that actually help you do that. And then you can use that PG for other things. Tesha asked, does American Express report? Most of the time they don't. I had an American Express card that was personally guaranteed for my business, and it didn't report to either of them, which is not bad. I'm not saying it's a bad card. It's still very useful. It's still very, it still makes sense to get for your business if it makes sense. It's not going to report, or most of the time it doesn't report unless you go delinquent. So keep that in mind. Earl asked what the phone number for Fundability assessment is. That's 877-600-2487. You just say, hey, I want a Fundability assessment, and the team will be able to connect you with somebody on that. And like I said, that Fundability assessment's no joke. Be prepared to answer questions about your business. If you can't answer questions about their business, that's okay, but it will show you kind of where you are now, what you'll possibly be able to understand as far as like business credit and lending, and how the two work together to, form an overall plan. And they'll sort of walk you through the software and that kind of stuff, and how, the next steps there. Let's see. Got any other questions coming on here? Just scrolling up to make sure I didn't miss anything. Tesha, I believe there might be a business, an American Express business card that does report. I don't know off of the top of my head. Our team would be able to get that. Is there a fee for the assessment? There's no fee for the assessment. The fee, you just have to dedicate a little bit of time for it and be prepared to answer questions about your business. David Nim says, misuse of someone else's intellectual property, is this fraud? Yeah, I mean, if you have lawsuits and judgments against you, just like on the personal side, that can be risky. That can make you riskier to lend to on the business side as well. So if your business is ever sued, or you're misusing intellectual property and there's record of that, that's going to be an issue. So great question, David. Thank you for asking that. I have 2 of 14 American Express cards. Great, Tesha. That's awesome. Keep it up. Like I said, I don't know which ones off the top of my head report or don't report, or if any of them do. But chances are is if you think you have stuff reporting, you probably don't. Like, I went and got multiple credit cards under my business name. Turns out none of them were really reporting to the business credit bureaus, and I wasn't really helping myself. So pay attention to what reports and what doesn't. I think you said you had NAV, so pay attention in there. We've run into some issues with NAV, and I think it's Experian. So just double check, and they can make sure that they get it updated for you. So if our LLC is on our Secretary of State paperwork, should it be on the business funding application? Yes. This is a great question from Adrienne Foster. I'm sorry if I mispronounce anybody's names. This is an incredibly important thing. If you're trying to get a loan or a piece of financing for your business, you better be applying as that business, right? So make sure that whatever information that you use to form your LLC with your Secretary of State, that same information is then being used on the application. Remember, consistency and verification are the two big things that we want to look at here. Just scrolling back up through the comments, guys. LexisNexis, we talked about. You can also get, if there was a question about how to start building business credit, or a great place to start if you're unsure is just go to creditsuite.com/EIN. And there's a free guide there that will be able to help you out. So that's our training for today. How to avoid fraudulent applications. This is going to be available on all of our social media profiles. And if you're interested in this whole process and interested in if you already help other business owners in some way, shape, or form, if you're already a business loan broker, if you're a credit repair company, if you're an accountant, if you're a business coach that wants to help people, wants to help your clients or your prospects get financing, both lending products and business credit, we have a loan broker challenge going on right now. So the way that you get access to that is just go to businessloanbrokerchallenge.com. It's running from yesterday. It started yesterday through the end of the week. If you register now, you'll get the recordings in the Facebook group through Friday. You can also sign up for the Backstage Pass. The Backstage Pass gets you access to all of the presenters. And actually, I'm going from here to the Business Loan Broker Challenge to give another presentation on advertising and getting started with your Facebook and Google ads. So if you're interested in the Business Loan Broker Challenge and you're watching this live in March of 2022, you can go and register right now. That's only if you're interested in all of this stuff and helping people do this stuff that we just talked about. If you're not interested in that, no worries. You can still go get your business finance or business fundability assessment with our team. All righty. I'm going to stick around and answer a couple more questions. I'd love to do this, but got to get it myself first. Tesha, great. Glad Tesha says, I'm signing up. I'm super pumped about that. We're happy to have you on board. And go give us a call at 877-600-2487. They'll be able to get you set up with, answer the questions, do the assessment, and then they'll determine, what the best path forward is for you, Tesha. And you can always join our partner program later. So if you want to focus on this for yourself first, and then join our partner program, that's also available. So any other questions about Fundability Foundation, fraudulent applications, building business credit, I'm here to answer them. So give me your questions, guys. So Tracy says, great info, Alex. Thanks. Thank you, Tracy. I'm glad you joined. Tracy's amazing, by the way. Let's see. Just want to make sure I got everything. What's the phone number for the fundability or finance assessment? It's 877-600-2487 right here down at the bottom of the screen. Affiliate program we talked about. Cool. I don't see any more questions. Has the class on business loan broker started for today? It has started, but don't worry. You can register and jump right into it through the Facebook group directly. So go to businessloanbrokerchallenge.com and register, and then DM. If you can do me a favor, DM us on Facebook. And Alfredo, who's in here working on the all of the comments and things like that, he'll be able to get you set up, in there and make sure that you have access. What time is that class daily? So Tesha asked on the business loan broker side. I'm assuming that runs from Monday through this past Monday, so yesterday, today, through Friday. from 1 p.m. Eastern time to 3 p.m. Eastern time. So only a couple hours per day. There's all sorts of stuff going on in that challenge that even if you don't become a business loan broker, might be helpful for you. Today is going to be mostly about marketing, I think. So could be something that you want to attend. What was the site for a vendor list? So the vendor list is within our platform. Let's see if I can log into it. And I may need to share Chrome tab. So this is our vendor list. This is our software. We have more software coming out soon, but our software starts with Fundability Foundation, helps you then go through and establish reports, and then start building credit with starter vendors. Then we help you understand how you'd monitor your credit and build additional credit, use advanced reporting. We have all sorts of things in here, from regular net vendors and net accounts to revolving accounts to auto vehicle financing to credit cards and that kind of stuff. We have non-PG'd. All of the stuff I'm showing, I was showing before, was all no PG business credit. So it's pure business credit. And then we have additional business credit and non-reporting accounts within these additional steps. So these are still valid accounts. They're still useful, but they don't report. So we have everything from reporting and not reporting, no PG and PG. All of that stuff is within our software. Hopefully that answers your question, Lori. So if you want to get access to our vendors, give us a call at 877-600-2487. If you're just looking for a free list of vendors, go to our YouTube channel and go to youtube.com/credit suite and just search for vendors. And we have endless presentations on free vendors. Now, keep in mind, if you're using just free list after free list of vendors, what you're going to run into is some vendors stop reporting and then start reporting again. Some vendors just stop reporting. Others change who they're reporting to and all of that fun stuff. And it's actually pretty hard to keep track of all of that. We have a team in-house specifically dedicated to just verifying who reports to who, what are the criteria, where's the application held, do they continue to report? And that team, it just does that all day long, every day. And they re-verify all of our accounts pretty much every month, every 30 to 60 days. So keep that in mind. If you're constantly using free vendor lists, you're gonna run into issues eventually. Free vendor lists are great, and the Facebook groups and things like that are great, but we're all about speeding up the process with better results. So and avoiding those pitfalls. So keep that in mind as you move forward with this stuff. All-in-one software for our businesses. Yes, it is awesome. I wish I had access to our business credit software when I was running my own business, because I would have avoided so much stuff. Like I still have my old credit cards to prove it. Like they look like they're business credit cards, but really they were personal cards that had my business name on them. And I ended up getting myself into a bit of trouble when one of my businesses didn't end up working out. So it's just amazing what we're able to offer. And we have a pretty slick new software coming out, which I don't know if I was supposed to say, so don't tell anybody. All righty. Doesn't look like we have any more questions. I'm double checking. Has the class we answered that one? What about gas cards? Tessa asked about gas cards. And the answer is yes. We have a ton of gas cards within the software. So you'll have access to fleet credit. So we break this down in a couple of different ways. There's starter credit, standard vendor credit, fleet credit, service credit, and credit cards. So all of these things our different types of vendor accounts, or trade vendor accounts as they're officially known. And we break them down into kind of categories that make them pretty easy for you to identify based on your needs, what vendors to go after. And the advisor, our credit software, not as great at breaking that stuff down, but the advisors are there to help you answer all of those questions. And the new software is pretty nice. Olga asks, how much is it to join Credit Suite? There's various different programs that we have, Olga. So go schedule I would say the first step to determine what your path should be moving forward, and also which of our products might be the best for you, is to schedule a finance assessment so that we can learn about your business and give you kind of a better idea of what the next steps will be. Because it ranges. We've got, kind of a do-it-yourself path that runs a few $100s a month to other things, but there's also payment plans on those higher programs. So if you're kind of on the fence, first thing is go get an assessment, and you can schedule that at 877-600-2487 or email us at info@creditsuite.com. Tesha says she just got Wawa Fleet gas cards. Congratulations. That's awesome. Cool. Well, I don't see any additional things, so I'm going to end additional questions. I would go discuss. Tesha says, I got one price, not different packages. So there's a variety of different ways that we can break up the pricing for you. So I would discuss that with whoever you're speaking to, Tesha, and go from there. But start with that assessment phase. It sounds like you already went through some of that. So just give us a call back at 877-600-2487 or reach out directly who you spoke to. Well, cool. Thank you, guys. See you tomorrow.